Yo, what's going on guys, it's Cynical and welcome back to another Kingdom Hearts 3 news and information video. Today for you guys, we have some saucy stuff to talk about as Nomura very recently has announced the sort of DLC plans for Kingdom Hearts 3. And while he didn't exactly announce the DLC in detail as to, down to the nitty gritty as to what to expect, we do actually have a basic idea as to what is going to be included in both the paid and free DLC. Now, Tetsuya Nomura took to the stage during the very first Kingdom Hearts World of Trance Orchestra that happened in Japan during last weekend, the one just gone, and announced exactly what we can sort of expect. Now, Square Enix haven't actually taken on to any of their official platforms to announce these very basic details of the DLC that we have so far. Instead, all of this has been reported from the attendees, the people who actually went to the very first showing. So I'm taking this information from two Twitter users who are actually in attendance during the time. So this first post from Yaniln, I probably mispronounced that to the absolute days, but she's mentioned right here that the temporary title for the paid DLC is going to be known as Kingdom Hearts 3 ReMIND. In, of course, typical Square Enix and Tetsuya Nomura fashion, of course we have some sort of a cryptic title for this DLC, specifically though ReMIND, quite interesting. Now, although you guys know that I still have not completely finished Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm sure that the title of ReMIND is actually pointing towards something specific as to exactly where this DLC is going to lead, specifically when looking towards the additional story scenario that is going to be added. Now, I can't exactly put all comments towards where I personally believe this additional scenario is going to head towards, as obviously, once again, I'm still yet to finish and see everything. So I will be making a follow-up video once I've actually completely finished Kingdom Hearts 3, just giving my sort of 2 cents as to exactly what I think we might be able to expect from the additional story scenario. Basically, what is going to be included in the paid DLC pack, it will include an additional scenario called ReMIND. It will include a limit episode plus boss. Now, this is interesting because the limit episode is actually going to include multiple bosses and not just one. We have some more information from Audrey, another Twitter user who is actually in attendance, and she mentioned right here the limit cut episode and additional bosses are like the final mix versions where existing places have additional scenes plus bosses. She mentioned here the secret episode is still a secret, but the boss is apparently going to be ridiculously difficult. And the other extra thing that is going to be included in the paid DLC will be the English VA option. This is obviously only for the Japanese version, but it makes me think that for the English version of the game, I wonder if we will actually get a Japanese VA option for us, as I do know that a lot of people actually do like to play with Japanese battle quotes, etc. Now, in the sense of the free DLC, it's pretty bare minimum, and to be honest, I wasn't really expecting too much for the free DLC when looking towards Kingdom Hearts 3, only really some smaller stuff and obviously critical mode, which has since been added. But for the free DLC, we will be apparently receiving a new Keyblade and form. I personally believe that there will probably be a few Keyblades, or maybe just a couple. I just can't imagine that they'll release a single Keyblade. I'm sort of hoping for, maybe a couple or a few. But that's all we know of as of right now in terms of the actual DLC plans. It would also be cool if they end up releasing the Dawn Till Dusk Keyblade as well as the console-specific Keyblades, as obviously a lot of people ended up missing out on those due to obviously not pre-ordering the game from, Amazon, for instance, in terms of the Dawn Till Dusk. And I know a lot of people didn't actually end up getting the console-specific Keyblades as well, so it would just kind of make sense to throw those in as free DLCs as well when Square decide to drop the free Keyblade DLC. Now, the additional scenario is no doubt the major story add-on towards the game itself, and there has been quite a few theories sort of chucked into the air in terms of perhaps maybe this additional scenario dipping into more of what happened or was going on with Xion during the time of Kingdom Hearts 3's events, obviously before she appears in the Keyblade graveyard. I've heard that there is not really too much more clarification on exactly Xion's part to play in the game before the events of the Keyblade graveyard, so it would be kind of cool to have more substance surrounding her. The other possibility that I am thinking of is maybe more of a focus on both Axel and Ice's past, as we do know in Kingdom Hearts 3 we found out that there was actually a mysterious girl in which they ended up losing, and a lot of experimentation was done on her. The specific person seems to be pretty damn important to both Isa and Axel, and because it was made so apparent that they did have some pretty important history, as they did make some very big promises to save this girl but failed to do so, it makes me think that if not in the DLC, most likely in the future of Kingdom Hearts, this will be further elaborated on. However, one interesting thing to add is Quentin Flynn, the official English voice actor for Axel, recently put up a Twitter post saying that the proof of promises, the proof of times past, where will they lead? I'm sure you'll get it memorized soon. Now, whether or not this has anything to do with Axel, I don't know. This is just simply coming from the English voice actor of Axel, and obviously he's included an Axel gif, but that's just in typical Quentin fashion. The DLC quite possibly could lead towards some Axel stuff, and I kind of hope it sort of does, as I think a playable Axel episode would be absolutely amazing, but whereabouts the proof of promises and proof of times past would play into specifically a sort of Axel scenario, I really don't know. And why you would make such mysterious items revolve around the character of Axel and not some other important characters is kind of up in the air. The Limit episode as well as the Secret episode, as we were talking about before, apparently the Limit episode will be sort of like final mix additions to the game, although it is dubbed as an episode, so when specifically looking towards both the Limit episode and Secret episode, it starts to make me think about what they added to Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep for the final mix version of the game, where they actually added a secret episode, which was an additional sort of story scenario that you were able to dip into once you had finished the game, which then took place after the events of Birth by Sleep, where Aqua was obviously chucked into the realm of darkness. The scenario wasn't exactly too lengthy or long. It only ran for about 40 minutes to about an hour if you are watching cutscenes and depending on how fast you're going through it. But maybe these episodes will include smaller little story scenarios similar to the Secret episode that we sort of saw in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, whereas when we look towards the additional scenario ReMIND, I think that will be more substantial and more things chucked into the mix, similar to something like Kingdom Hearts 0.2 Birth by Sleep. I do believe that the additional scenario will probably be to the same degree as 0.2. And just as Audrey was saying in her tweet, apparently the boss that will be a part of the Secret episode is going to be apparently ridiculously difficult, as Nomura mentioned during the Orchestra. Now, I know this is probably going to put a smile on a lot of people's faces, as apparently Dark Inferno was a little bit of a letdown. Again, I've yet to experience him myself, but a lot of people were very disappointed with the difficulty factor behind Dark Inferno, and that I think at this point, still to this day, the Lingering Will is dubbed the hardest Kingdom Hearts boss so far. So I think at this point, Nomura is aware of this, and I think he's really wanting us to suffer, so I don't doubt that this new and upcoming boss that is part of the Secret episode will most likely be ridiculously excruciating. Hopefully. The Limit episode, though, from the descriptions that we have so far, probably has me the most excited, as it has been described as adding, Final Mix-esque things, existing places having additional scenes as well as additional content chucked into them. So I would say, things like more mini games are probably to be expected. Perhaps maybe somewhere in Olympus they could actually add in an arena mode. This is one thing that I've really been crossing my fingers for. New items to, of course, synthesize. No doubt they'll probably chuck in some new ingredients along with new food to cook. And although we are getting free Keyblade DLC, I'm sure that the paid DLC will also include some Keyblades that you obtain via doing some of this additional content as well, whether it be via the Limit stuff, the Secret stuff, or of course the ReMIND additional scenario stuff. I know one thing that people have been desperately wanting is an expansion upon Scala ad Caelum. I haven't seen it for myself, but I definitely do know that it isn't exactly that big, which is pretty damn disappointing, seeing as I think for a lot of people, Scala was definitely one of the most exciting worlds to look forward to to just because it's absolutely so beautiful. But yes, I do know that it is actually quite a small world, so for the likes of the Limit DLC, because it is going to just be adding Final Mix-esque stuff in existing places, I don't think it's too out of the ordinary to chuck in sort of an expansion upon Scala, almost sort of like a Cabin of Remembrance type of thing. I hope though overall within this paid DLC, something gets done with Final Fantasy characters being chucked into the mix. As you guys know, Final Fantasy had an extremely low focus when it came to Kingdom Hearts 3, and none of the characters appeared whatsoever, and I would absolutely love a Sephiroth fight. I think people are absolutely screaming for a Sephiroth fight, and that would get a ton of people on board if of course they added Sephiroth as an additional boss via the use of downloadable content. And when I hear the name Limit Episode, it sort of reminds me a little bit of, you know, the whole Final Fantasy thing with limit breaking and whatnot. So it's possible that something to do with Final Fantasy characters, seeing as the Limit Episode is going to be including just additional things similar to Final Mix. It makes me think that that episode might be where Final Fantasy characters could come into play. And I mean, both Cloud and Sephiroth's story is not over. You cannot tell me that we concluded Cloud and Sephi's story in Kingdom Hearts 2. It just doesn't quite work like that. Where did they go? What happened? What was the outcome? Nomura, you gotta do it. You gotta do it! Lastly, it was explained that more information towards this DLC will be releasing in June, no doubt at the LA Orchestra show that is happening shortly before E3, and then I would say at E3 as well, there's probably going to be some more information dropped there. I'm expecting, obviously, Square Enix to go in depth with this DLC, explain exactly what things we can expect, as well as a trailer to follow. There is currently no release date, no pricing, but as I said, I think all of that information will be released in June. Tetsuya Nomura has previously mentioned that he wants to keep all the DLC in one pack, but as of right now, we can obviously see that there is going to be multiple things added here. Whether they're going to all release at one time, I'm not sure, but if Tetsuya Nomura is still sticking to what he said a few months ago about keeping all of the DLC in one pack, then we can probably expect all of these Limit Episode, Secret Episode, extra bosses, the additional scenario, ReMIND, to be one DLC purchase rather than multiple different packs. But of course, things are always subject to change, so we'll just have to wait and see. But however guys, that is the current Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC rundown. More information surrounding it is obviously not too far away. We're only about a month out from June, so yeah, not too much more waiting to go until we find out a little bit more. In the comment section down below, dudes, please do let me know your thoughts and opinions. With all that being said though, I'm Cynical. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day, and until next time guys, I'll catch you later. Peace.
Hit them on the page, you'll be coming through stunning. Gold in my mouth when you suckers be bluffing. Milk crate, gaming up your bitch though. Catch me in the back playing Super Nintendo.